Now, there is a bit of a threat at the moment. Obviously, we're looking at in the eyes of a third world war if we're not already there. Do you think that we spend enough on defence at the moment?
Well, I think there are two issues. One is I don't think we spend enough on defence. I think we need to dramatically increase our defence spending. But also we do need to look at the way the money is spent, because I think traditionally or historically, and including up to now, defence procurement, in other words, the way that we really use the money that we spend on defence, has been notoriously inefficient. And I think that does need to be sorted out as well. Many people have said that before. Many people have said they have sorted it out, but they haven't, and it's still a problem. So we don't get much bang for our bucks, unfortunately. But I think with a war raging in Ukraine and every prospect of that spreading, if Putin remains in power in particular, every prospect of us finding ourselves engaged in a war with Russia means I think we should be focusing much more on defence and increasing our capabilities.
Because we are spending a lot of defence, but not in this country. This is the thing. We're spending it in Ukraine, but I suppose some could argue that that is, in a way, protecting us. Do you think that we're leaving ourselves quite exposed? Because we're spending all this money, we're giving all our weapons and everything we've got here, and literally leaving ourselves bare. We have a tiny army. There's, 70,000 people in it. That's not enough. Do you think that we are actually exposing ourselves in a way?
We are exposing ourselves, and we're showing, I think, one thing that's becoming evident is that we don't have enough stocks of ammunition. And by that, I mean not just bullets, but missiles and pretty much all other natures of ammunition that are required to fight. Because, we've given a lot of this to Ukraine, which leaves very little for us. And we may well need it in the future. So that needs to be stepped up. And, we've had this policy of just in time up until now, whereby we've kept enough stocks just about to maintain immediate requirements, but without enough to back them up if we're involved in a concerted campaign. So that again needs to be looked at. But we should, we're quite right to have provided weapons and vehicles where they're needed immediately. I think that's quite right. But we should be working extremely hard now on building those stocks back up so we have something to fight with ourselves when the time comes that we need to. And let's not forget, it isn't just a matter of fighting. Let's hope we don't have to do that. I suspect we might, but let's hope we don't. It's a question of deterring as well. And it applies not just to the UK, but to all other NATO members, particularly European NATO members. That they need to provide a credible deterrence. They need to show the likes of Putin that if he does decide to bite into NATO, he's going to have a significant force to contend with, and he doesn't have that at the moment. So it's deterring a conflict as well as being ready to fight it.
Yeah, he's not scared of us in any way, shape or form. I think it's almost like he's toying with us. How high up that list do you think defence should be? Because just say we've got cost of living, got net zero, and then we've got defence spending somewhere. Where on that list? Should it be at the top?
I think right now it should be pretty close to the top, if not at the top, because, after all, any government has its first duty is to defend and protect its people. Without the ability to do that, all of the other things we spend money on are pretty much irrelevant if we can't protect our people. Because, if we don't succeed in a future conflict, we could end up not being in a position to make those decisions about how we live, etc. We're talking about, our freedom and the freedom of our country and the ability for us to elect a government. And that always is likely to be a threat if there's a major conflict. And I think, that may be expressing quite an extreme argument, but ultimately that's what it's all about. It's about protecting the country, and it should be right now. I'm not saying always, but right now in the current circumstances, it should be at the top of our priorities when it comes to deciding how our taxes are spent.
And finally, just with regard to the war in Ukraine, do you see any hope that Vladimir Putin might stop?
I don't. I think he'll go on until he feels he's got what he needs out of Ukraine, and that will probably be the whole of eastern Ukraine and at least a large part of southern coast of Ukraine, and probably the whole of it. But let's not forget, once he's done that, he's then going to be considering what he's going to do next, and we should assume that there will be other targets in future NATO countries like the Baltic states that will be on his target list. And will we be ready to meet our NATO commitments and protect NATO members in Eastern and Northern Europe And frankly, I don't think we are at the moment. And it's not just us; it's other European countries as well, particularly France and Germany. And so I think it is time now to take this seriously in a way we haven't done so far. In this country, we've been cutting defence while a major war is raging, with every prospect of it spreading at any time. And that is, in my view, that is grossly irresponsible on the part of the government. And I hope that a future Prime Minister will understand that and take the necessary steps.
So, and very briefly, one name then, who do you think, if you were to choose someone to lead the Conservative Party, who would you choose?
Well, I don't think I would like to say who I would put in that position now. I think I'd like to see more of all of the candidates as this campaign unfolds, and we'll see who ends up. But I think, above all, in my view, and I'm looking at it from a relatively narrow focus, I think above all we need somebody who is going to step up to the defence challenges now. And I suspect whoever that person is who sees defence as a priority will also be thinking in the right direction on many other issues that concern us all. And in that I include the EU, and I think it's critical for our future defence and for our future prosperity as a country that whoever is elected not only prioritises defence but also strongly prioritises remaining outside the EU and developing our future outside the EU.